Welcome back to the channel. Or welcome to you. You've never been here before.
No, no, I haven't.
Do you want to introduce who you are?
Yeah, my name is Lexi. I am, 21 now, but I was diagnosed with a kidney tumor when I was 8 and have been doing that. I'm now heading into my fourth year of university next week. Well, as per the time of when we're filming this, and I'm studying biomedical engineering, and it's a super cool program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we met at what was Camp Ooch, what is now Campfire Circle. And it's an amazing place because
Yeah.
it gets kids with cancer and teens with cancer together who, well, they don't share the same diagnosis, uh, understand each other in a very different way than the rest of the world understands their diagnosis.
Yeah. My favorite part about camp is like at camp, anywhere other than camp, cancer is out of the norm. But camp makes cancer the norm, unfortunately, just because of the situation that we're in. And all of a sudden, it's not, oh, you're the bald kid at camp anymore, or like you're the bald kid or anything, or you're the kid with cancer. It's, well, we were all the bald kid at one point,
Oh,
probably,
yeah.
and we're all the kids with cancer. So let's just go have fun and go water skiing and high ropes climbing and everything. I don't know, it was such a gift to meet you that summer, right before the pandemic. And
I
here we
talked
are
about that
now.
in mine too. Like it was just before COVID. Like it was the last, I would say, quote unquote, real summer of camp before COVID. It was the last summer before COVID restrictions were in place.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the first time I was around people that didn't look at my central line like I was crazy. Because I
Yeah.
was running around camp with a central line sticking out of my arm and,
Yep.
jumping in a lake with it.
Yeah. And it was fine and it was safe and
Yeah.
our medical team made sure it was fine and safe
Yeah.
and
We
yeah.
love we love our nurses.
Yeah, we do.
You were also the first person I met that actually knew my chemo because you and I, while we have very different diagnoses, had very similar chemotherapies.
hmm Yeah, I remember like one of my first conversations with you about just kind of everything and anything under the sun because what the beauty of the week that you started coming to camp at, I had already been at camp for 7 or 8 summers at that point. I don't even remember at this. Oh my gosh, 2013, that was 2019. Someone else can do the math. Yes, I'm in engineering, but here we are. Um, anyways, what's so neat about the week you came is that that week is dedicated to young adults um, who are like 15 to 19 years old and slowly transitioning out of camp, but we're in a very different stage of our life than the kids who are at camp in other weeks who are like 6, 7, 8 years old, who maybe don't realize that having cancer is a super not normal thing, because that's more of what they've grown up with. And so I just like remember some of those conversations from my years at Seventhscape and like we got to be there together of like actually getting to talk through our cancer diagnoses and like I think one of our first conversations, probably the first or the second, was about our regimens and how many similar things we had, even though yours was like lymphatic system and mine was like a kidney solid tumor. But because of my diagnosis and because of your rare diagnosis, unicorns and everything, we just kind of had very similar treatment plans, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think my next most memorable memory of you is when, or I think it was your cabin, somebody played ring toss with somebody's prosthetic foot.
I don't even remember.
Or not like they had a foot and ankle that had become their new knee joint. And I remember one of the counselors being horrified that her girls had used it for ring toss the night before.
Oh my God, I remember this. I
Yes.
remember hearing about this. This wasn't my cabin,
Was
I
it
don't
your
think.
cabin?
No, it was my
That is
cabin.
that is my
Hold
most
on. I gotta look at this photo because I'm pretty sure it was my cabin.
that is my most memorable seventh grade memory, and I was not part of it. But I just remember the utter look of horror at some of the staff members at breakfast and other longtime staff members going, "Yeah, no, this is normal."
No, that was fully my cabin because I'm like looking at the picture from that summer right now. Um, no, that was fully my cabin. What's also so cool about camp is like even now that like we've graduated from camp through the pandemic, unfortunately, so we didn't get official grads.
I
But
did.
oh,
I know.
I feel so gypped. Um,
Hey,
man,
my plaque is on my wall, and my plaque is a picture of you and I.
that's true.
And mine's also the last one that says Ooch on it.
Yeah. See, I graduated technically from camp like 2022, 2023. No, 2022.
Hmm.
And apparently I really can't do math tonight. So sorry. Anyways, but I graduated from camp in 2022, which was height of pandemic. Camp still wasn't like a super big thing. They weren't allowing a ton of people. I didn't know if I would get the week off work that week. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going. And then I was like, oh, guess I'm not graduating. So I was like, man, but now I've had like the real pleasure of returning to camp and creating the magic for the kids. I worked as a summer staff last year on the adventure course, which was such a cool experience getting kids up there and using the tactics that I didn't realize were tactics at the time that my counselors and the staff used to get me up there the first time. And just like having that experience and coaching kids through the height of everything was so cool. And then also getting to work arts and crafts for a couple weeks in there and some weeks, some time. Um, and then this summer, going back now, not as a paid staff, but as a volunteer, as camp is expanding all of their programming, and getting to create magic at camp for kids who have been diagnosed with sickle cell disease and other special blood diseases, because it they're parallel in terms of like the isolation and the days, so many long days in the hospital and the very scary moments and the people don't know, they just think something's wrong with you when really not really wrong. Like nothing's wrong with you. You just have a medical diagnosis and it's something lifelong and you always have to monitor. Anyways, they run parallel to each other. So now going to create these memories and like talk to these kids who've been diagnosed with sickle cell disease, just seeing how camp changes their perspective on everything and how unfortunately sad that they are to leave camp at the end of the week because camp is the place where having a complex medical diagnosis that's life-threatening is just normal.
Yeah, like even going back for adult programs now, like
Yeah.
it is so nice to walk into a space where like yes, we have these conversations with each other via text, but it is so different to sit across from each other at breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 2.5 days
Yeah.
and to have those conversations with each other in person.
And like thinking about now, like I'm super excited to go back for like adult weekends just because I haven't had the chance to yet with being in university, but talking with other survivors, no matter what age that they were diagnosed, whatever, because of the long-term effects of chemotherapy at any time of your life, but being younger, it affects how you can do things. It affects how you do your job. It can affect everything. I know for me, like a big one right now in universities, emailing my profs ahead of time as we start school next week to be like, hey, I'm in your class. I have an FM system to go with my hearing aids. And obviously, don't need to tell them the whole story, but like that piece, that extra piece of advocacy because of the long-term effects, it's just so nice to talk to other people who get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have hearing loss from chemotherapy.
Yeah.
In the nicest way possible. What else did it fuck up?
Yeah. Mostly for now, it's my hearing. Thankfully, like I still have hearing without my hearing aids, but my hearing aids make it so much easier to go through a 12-hour class day of labs and lectures and library studying. And oh my gosh, they're very long days, but I'm very grateful to be here to do them. Um, my eyesight has definitely, like, I had 20/20 vision before I had cancer, and then about 5 years after chemo was when everything kind of hit my body. I had a good 5 years, and then my body was like, "Ooh, what just happened in the last 5 years?" And like, I got glasses, so I probably should still have 20/20 vision. If I didn't have chemo, who knows? But that definitely is a factor for me. And honestly, just the biggest impact it still has on my life is the amount of appointments I have to go to each year to keep me in the clear and make sure that there aren't any massive question marks on my health and my safety. And those appointments take such a mental toll on you because you have to plan, oh, I'm about to miss an entire day of classes at university or an entire day of work just so I can go and make sure I'm okay, which is so important to do. But there's a burnout that comes with that. And I know every time I start to question, well, I'm this far out from my diagnosis now, can I start phasing these out? No. I usually get slapped in my face and we get a question mark.
Yeah.
Um, and we're like, oh, actually, I'm like, oh, I can totally stop doing my scans after the next set and just like, make sure I'm okay. Maybe push them further apart just so it's less mental load, making sure that everything happens every year. And then we get a question mark. And you're like, well, actually, no, we're increasing the number of scans you have to do to make sure you're still safe. And so that is like the biggest impact I think it's ever had. Yeah, my eyesight is worse, my hearing is going, whatever. Those are manageable. ASL is so cool. Like, there's things around that, but you can't not be doing your scans, especially because my cancer is a result of a genetic condition. So there will never be an escape from those scans, and there will never be an escape from that mental load.
Yeah. And I think the burnout component is still so real because I am never in a worse mood than the week before oncology.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't matter. It can be the smallest thing in the world, and will still sit on the floor and cry about it.
Hmm.
I will never be in a worse mood than an oncology week.
Yeah.
Uh, but also, like, there are so many small management things day to day when you've had cancer that people just don't think about.
Yeah. It's so funny. My friends, like we have a shared calendar here at university between my friends just to like keep track of all of our collective midterms and finals and things in our life. And anytime my mood shifts for like a good couple days, and it's not that I have something massive due or massive to write, they're like, you have a scan coming up, don't you? I'm like, yeah. They're like, it's stressing you out, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. And we've learned because my friends have been so amazing, like we've learned to like roll with that punch of, okay, like it is it like you have to do it. You have to stay safe so we can finish this degree nice and safe and everything. Because I'm so close to the finish line now, especially I'm so excited to graduate and do the next degree. But um, as I head into like this next semester. I'm looking at when are my appointments, and now I'm like, I need my course outlines because I need to know when those major assignments are due and if I need to shift and adjust and rearrange. And then also warn my friends that, hey, these are coming up and put them in the calendar so that they know when my mood shifts. I'm not just like mad at them or anything. I'm just stressed
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never book work meetings into the week of oncology, and I never book anything onto May 26th or 27th because it's just not worth it.
No, 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 because the biggest thing is allowing yourself to feel all the feelings because there's so much grief and turmoil and traumatic moments that happen through your treatment that just bubble up with every new scan, every new appointment, every anniversary. And you have to allow yourself to feel as many of the feels as you can. And I like your plan of like not scheduling meetings. I wish I had more control over my school schedules. We're almost graduated. It's fine. And just like, yeah, allowing yourself the space to feel the feelings that you need to feel to be able to be at your best and not necessarily let it take you completely out of the game for the week.
Yeah. What was your official diagnosis? So we've talked a little bit about that it was a kidney tumor, but I know that it's a very long name. So,
Yeah. Honestly, though, if I think about it, I, I'm trying to remember timeline wise. It was 2017 when I got my like official name, but 2013 to 2017 we bounced between like six different names because they were still trying to figure it out. Basically, in order to understand it, I have a genetic condition called Dicer 1 syndrome, which basically just means there's like a genetic mutation that can cause me a ton of different tumors. But my official diagnosis is anaplastic sarcoma of the kidney. And basically, what that means is that my kidney tumor was built up of many different types of cells, a little bit of bone, a little bit of muscle, a little bit of anything and everything that shouldn't be in your kidney. Which is why it's called anaplastic. And then they just really simplified it and went sarcoma of the kidney, aka cancer of the kidney. Um, so yeah, they could never really tell what the cells were or where they were from, and like they were like, oh, the cells from here, but the cells from here in your body, and like they're still tumor cells, still cancer, but like different parts of your body in your kidney. Anyways, which is kind of crazy cool when I think about it, and I like read my medical journal that's written about my case and like look at my own tumor and stuff. It's so cool.
yeah, like I included a picture of the empty cavity in my leg in my video that I filmed, which by the time this is out, that video's out. Because the reality is like to me that's really cool. Like
Hmm.
it was proof that oh, this thing in my leg is actually a thing and here it is on a scan and it's just this space.
Yeah. And it's like my tumor, because the image that's in my medical journal is of a CT that they took right before my tumor ruptured and I was rushed off to the OR. Like in the OR, my tumor ruptured kind of vibe. And you can see like the giant circle that is my kidney tumor. And then my stomach squished up into my rib cage, everything else displaced. My colon is super empty looking in the CT because I hadn't eaten for weeks, if not months, more than like a bite of a baby carrot every day because my stomach is like very clearly squished against my rib cage. It looks like another rib to me when I look at it. But then on the flip side of that, I gotta talk about this for a second. The flip side of that is like I have this paper, I have this image, I have, the cell stains and everything, and it shows like four different types of cells that they found inside this tumor when they, did all of their research on it. Um, and the genome stuff, the genome sequencing. But the CT scan to me is so cool because in biomedical engineering, one of the things we can learn about is medical signals
Hmm.
and medical image processing. And how do we get from all the signals and noise and disturbance and all this other engineering stuff to an actual image? And how was that image of my body created? And like it's blowing my mind because I've already started pre-reading my textbook, which anyone and everyone can judge me for being a nerd. That's fine. My parents call me a nerd all the time. And I wear it like a badge of honor
Yep.
because I've already started reading my textbooks because there's so much to study in such a short amount of time. And I've got some time right now to be reading. And I've started reading about like that process of generating this image. Anyways, super cool stuff. I could like nerd out about this for a good hour, especially once my course starts. That could be like me just yapping to you one day. Um,
I'm all here for it. Like honestly, the conversations I have with normally Maya about like here's this random filling system in this weird vintage pen that I've just had to learn about because somebody's mentioned it in a podcast episode, and so I've just had to deep dive into this thing. Like,
yeah. It's so cool. Like I'm so excited for these courses because I get to like learn about the stuff, how the stuff that saved my life is made.
hmm
That's not just my chemotherapy and my radiation and the surgery. I get to learn about how the images are made that took the pictures that saved my life.
yeah,
Because like I think about February 2013 and that month and those days are etched into my brain and will be forever. There will not be a day that goes by that's not in my brain in some capacity. But I remember how sick I was feeling, and I remember um going to do a urine sample, and instead of getting urine, I'm getting blood. And I'm like, whoa. And I like went out of that bathroom and I like went to my mom, who got the nurse. They rushed me to CT. They were like, oh, let's go. And I remember throwing. So what was super cool about that day is that the Toronto Maple Leafs were visiting the hospital. And they're never allowed in the ER at that time. They were never allowed in the ER. And they were allowed in the ER that day, and they came and visited me, and they gave me like Carlton stuffy. But then, many hours later, post CT, I chucked this Carlton stuffy at my mom because she's like, they're taking you to the OR. You have to have surgery. It's emergent. No, like no negotiations or anything. And I chuck, and then they've like put me. They've sedated me. Right? We're in the OR. They've sedated me. They've knocked me out, but they think they've knocked me out. And they're like, oh, she needs her earrings out, whatever, whatever, right? And my mom's like, she's not out. I have a really high tolerance to anesthetic. We've known this my entire life from when I was a baby and I had my lung tumor. Because that's the other thing. I had cancer when I was 11 months old as well, I was 8 years old. I had a lung tumor as a baby. We didn't know it at the time. We discovered after my kidney tumor that that was in fact cancer, because they went back and revisited the scans. Anyways, but because of my lung surgeries as a baby, my mom knew I had a light tolerance to sedation. So they're about to like, they're like, okay, she's like out. My mom's like, no, she's not. And they're like, yeah, she's out. She needs her earrings out of her ears. She's unconscious. Don't worry. Mom's like, no, she's not. And she goes to take my earrings. Mind you, at this time, I am 8 turning 9, and I just got my ears pierced within the last year. And I know if I take my earrings out, their holes are gonna close, even though they're only gonna be out of my ears for like maybe a week. And I will be fine at this point in time with my piercings. Um, and anyways, she goes to take them out, and I sit straight up. Not my earrings! I yell this. And I was like, she's not out. So they gave me more anesthetic, knocked me out properly this time. They're like, okay, she's out. Because then my surgeon went to take my earrings out with his like surgeon hands and dainty little ears and little earrings. And it didn't go very well for him. And so, because my mom was like, I'm not trying this again. You got to knock her out, and try it again yourselves. Because I can't do that again.
the
There's
reality
enough
is,
going on.
like, I can imagine your mom
Hmm.
doing this, but also the this is non-negotiable is such a cancer parent line
Yeah.
because there are totally things in cancer that shouldn't be negotiable, and yet we negotiate. Like
Oh, always.
the number of like lumbar punctures that I went that like mom had to negotiate with nurses because I was on my week off and I was not going in to have chemo injected into my spine. Sorry, that's not happening. Like there's negotiations that happen.
There are. Sometimes it's a negotiation of one bad option versus another, but you have to do something. So,
Yeah.
do you want to get your port? So, for me, I had a port as my
Hmm.
central line, which is just like embedded under the skin of your chest, usually. Which at the end of my treatment, my oncologist was like, "Oh, we could have embedded that like below your rib cage too." And we're like, "Oh, really? That would have been a lot nicer." Anyways, future reference for myself is if I ever happen to relapse and I have to have a port, it's going below my rib cage. Thank you. That's my personal future references.
Mm,
But there's always a way to negotiate it.
yeah.
And that's honestly something I've learned that's a massive thing in summer camp is like, yeah, a kid doesn't want to go to the dining hall. Okay, we've got two options, but we're gonna eat food at some point.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you not hungry? And like figuring it out. And like I could see these camp counselor-esque tactics to still get kids where you need them to go that my parents fully pulled on me when I was a
Well,
kid.
I think it's camp counselor, but also like our mom and I talk about it all the time. Like the threshold for like life is so much like what is actually important is so different. So yeah, you know, I don't feel like eating what we're having for dinner. Great. You know how to make a sandwich. Like there
Yeah,
are negotiations that happen that totally wouldn't have happened pre-cancer because honestly, the fight's not worth it.
no. But then there's times where, you have to be rushed into emergency surgery.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the
Yeah.
earrings because
There,
the rest of this,
there's times when your jaw is opened up for a biopsy when maybe you're not actually frozen.
yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah. Anyways, the earring story ends in my earrings got returned to my mother
Hmm.
in a urine sample jar, right? So if
Hmm.
anyone knows what those are, you can
Yep.
picture, you can look it up.
Hmm.
Okay. Taped shut with medical tape in a biohazard bag. Zip closed, also taped shut. And a post-it note that said, good luck. And this story is honestly one of the most, like the earring story is one of the most defining stories of my cancer journey because it's just, it was a moment of haha in such a scary and dark time and like such a pivotal time for my life, my brother's life, my parents' lives. Sorry, my mom is an English teacher. She would have gotten me for that one. My parents' lives and my brother's life, my life, even our dog's life. My dog has serious separation anxiety since I was diagnosed with cancer because all of a sudden we all disappeared. She got shipped off to my grandparents. Um, Now when I come home from university, she's like, "You're back," and then doesn't leave my side for a hot minute. Um, but like this earring story reminded was such a good reminder, even if it was like, "Oh, come on," with the tape for my mom. It was such a good reminder to find moments of joy, moments of laughter, and I'm so grateful for my mom for always, working hard to do that through my entire treatment. I did intensive chemotherapy for 9 months, and in those 9 months, we spent a lot of time in the what was called at the time the Starlight Lounge on the ninth floor. I believe it's now the Samsung Lounge, but it was rebranded after I graduated from the Sickett, so I don't know. But it's on the ninth floor. It's a pretty cool space. And then, and like painting nails and laughing at funny little things along the way. And then summer happened. I did 2 weeks of radiation, and that took a lot out of me. That was another pivotal moment, especially for my treatment plan, because over the next few months after radiation, my body shut down, stopped making blood cells, and like just was shutting down completely. The
Yeah.
chemo was cancer killing me more than the cancer.
Yeah.
And then we get to October, and they're like, "Well, you're only halfway through your entire chemo plan, But we're cutting you off anyways because either the cancer will kill you or the chemo will kill you. We don't know which, but currently you have no cancer cells. So we're going to take the gamble and hope for the best. But if you relapse in the next 6 months, we have no options for you because you're so sick from the chemo.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, hold on. And that's a lot to process for my parents and a lot to process for me because most of what I knew at the time was, oh, we're stopping your chemo. I didn't know the entire 6 month deadline as a 8 turn 9 year old now. I didn't need to know the deadline.
No.
So,
Like I was 18
mhm.
and it was an 18-month deadline. And I knew that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
that's like I was 18. Yeah. Like
yeah,
people don't think about those like deadlines being
yeah,
like I vividly remember when I hit 18 months and going, "Oh cool, I have options again."
yeah,
Because also at that point, I don't think I had white blood cells again. It took almost 2 years before my body started to make white blood cells. Like we are deep into COVID,
yeah.
and
I
I still,
remember, I remember texting you through the pandemic, and you're like, "Yeah, my neutrophils are still like not gone non-existent." And
I
then,
my neutrophils did not hit one until like over 2 years after I ended chemo. And that was with rounds of uh, grass to fill injections, like bone marrow stimulants. Like we were running on empty. There was
yeah,
nothing there.
yeah. Yeah, I remember texting you about that through the pandemic a bit. I also think a key thing now, and
Mhm.
honestly, yeah, as an 8 year old, which is gonna sound so crazy to people who might be watching this and not ever have experienced this the way we've experienced it, but the dark humor,
God, the dark humor.
it's so bad,
Good.
but it's so funny,
It's
and the best place for it is
it,
teen camp.
it is. I would say it's pretty good at weekends as well.
Yeah.
But the first time Grandma came up with us last year for an open house.
Yeah.
Um, and we did have to warn Grandma in the car because she is
Yep.
used to my level of dark humor. She was not used to that dark humor coming out of the mouth of a 6-year-old. That
Yup.
threw her for a loop. Um, but it's like the cancer kid dark humor. I
Unmatched.
I have a piece of bling on my braid that says dark and twisty with a little tornado.
I remember you making that. I think you made that at Seventhscape.
No, I made it at Adult Whack, but I posted it to Instagram.
Okay, I was gonna say I've definitely seen
You've
this.
definitely seen it. I posted it to Instagram because I made dark and twisty bling for my braid.
Yeah, because yes, it's a coping mechanism, and yes, I know all the psychology behind it from all of the therapy to unpack the trauma of being diagnosed with cancer as an 8 year old. And like living with the after effects and even like living through a pandemic and everything. But man, the dark humor. I also, now I'm older, have a paramedic brother. I've got my mom who lived this experience with me. The three of us, our household, it's bad. I gotta say, it's really bad. But it's, yes, it's a coping mechanism, but it's also about finding any scrap of light and
Yeah.
joy and laughter in some of the scariest times. And oh my gosh, like now, okay, I gotta talk to you about this one because this is funny. You still make friends, and like getting to go back to camp has been one of the greatest privileges of my post-COVID life as a staff and a volunteer. And I always planned to, even
Hmm.
growing up, I was like, I'm going back to camp when I graduate. No one's keeping me from this place. But the thing is, a lot of us do that. And a lot of the friends that I've made at camp, even now as an adult, we're all in the same boat of when are we going to get the next question mark? When are we going to relapse again? When? And if we relapse again, are they going to be able to do anything? And I need to talk to you about this because you get it and I want more people to understand. But I made a friend last summer at session 3. And unfortunately, session 3 did end with a shoulder injury for me, and I ended up being in a sling for the rest of the summer. But I made a friend with one of the counselors in the Jay's cabin this week in session 3, and she's a nurse. And so she saw the way my shoulder looked after the injury, and she was like, "No, you need to go get that checked." Like everyone's like, "You got to go get that checked." I'm like, "It's fine. I've had worse." Okay. Anyways, our friendship started over this week of camp, and especially over my shoulder. Um, and then about 6 weeks into camp, after she had been there, no, not 6 weeks. I was not there for that long. But anyways, a couple weeks after that, I got a text message from her, and she was a former camper at one of the organizations that merged into Campfire Circle. She grew up going to former Camp Trillium, now Campfire Circle. And so, she also lives similar realities, has the same dark humor and everything. And I got this text while I was at camp. So my cancer's back. And I then lived with the reality of that for a few weeks at camp. And I was like, okay, like they were trying to do everything that they could, maybe give her more longevity. And I'm so grateful that, yeah, the doctors gave her like 6 weeks at one point and hours at other points, but she's still alive today. And we still get our FaceTime calls with the darkest humor.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't give an F.
Yeah. No,
And
and
she's
like,
like it's bad, but it's like sometimes centered around death and dying and whatever. But it is so much darker and it's so funny because we've given each other full permission to laugh at this and try to find that joy. And yes, not knowing if I'm gonna get to see her again is terrifying. But that's the reality for a lot of my friends from the space. That's a reality for any friends, but it's an especially important reality and weight in this world.
mhm.
When your friend comes over to your house, you say goodbye, you say make it home safe, text me when you get home. And, in that span of time of them getting home or whatever to their next place, something may happen, you know? But a lot of us don't take for granted the fact that they're more likely to get home safe and you're more li than likely to see them again. My friends from camp and within the childhood cancer community, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to see them again. So every time I say goodbye, there's tears
Yeah.
because, you never know what life has in store. And I'm so grateful we got to go to camp together this summer and everything. But I saw her the other week and I don't know if I'm going to get to see her again. And that is such a heavy weight to live with. And we do all the FaceTimes and we do all the things and we joke around. But even if my friends are not in an active relapse and they're not actively terminal or anything like that, I don't know if I'm going to get to see them again.
Yeah. And I think like we all, I avoided my personal Instagram account for about 6 months because all of us knew at least one of our friends was dying. She was terminal. We were waiting for it, and it was sort of every time we got an update, it'll be a couple weeks. And then it'll be a couple days. And I basically didn't open my personal Instagram from the time it was announced, because every time I opened my personal Instagram, it was the first post I'd see. Because all of my friends are commenting on it. And like we have friends that during COVID got write-ups in the Star when they died or in other newspapers, like who were in their late teens and early 20s. And for a lot of people, like that is a foreign concept. Um, if you had asked me at September of 2019, would I still be alive in September of 2025? You know the answer's no.
Yeah. And
So I think we all live with that in a very complex way.
I'm sending you like the biggest virtual hug right
I
now
know.
because
God, I want to drive. You're not that far away.
no,
Oh,
but it's just so chaotic right now. And
I
I
know.
know freshers flu is gonna start here because all those first years are moving in and I'm avoiding them like the plague so I can
Yeah.
go to camp in 2 weeks. I'm determined.
And I will live vicariously through everyone else's cam photos.
Of course.
Yeah.
Keep that one out of the video. That's off the record.
Off the record. I'll delete this.
Delete that segment.
Well, thank you for sitting down for this. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Shirley.
God, I miss you.
I miss you too.
Oh.
Oh my God.